In this video, I'm going to create a tunnel and then have a car drive through that tunnel. We're also going to have a camera that follows the car through. The first thing I'll do is go to my top view and I'm going to zoom out so that I have a nice area to work with. And I'm going to create a box. I'm going to set the length to 1000, the width to 40, and the height to 400. So from the perspective view, this is what I get. I'll press F3 to go to wireframe. I'll go to modify and I'm going to set the height segments to 20. I'm also going to set the length segments to 20 because I'm going to be using those. I'm not going to be using the width segments, so I'm not going to increase those. I'll go to modifier list. I'm going to add bend and I'll set the angle to 180 degrees to create a straight tunnel like this. Now I want to bend it, so I'm going to add another bend modifier. I'll increase the angle, but here I need to go in the Y direction, so I'm going to choose bend axis Y. If I give it a positive angle, I'm going to have a smaller arc. If I give it a negative angle, I'm going to have a bigger arc, and this is due to the location of the pivot point with respect to the tunnel. I'm going to set the angle to negative 90 degrees. I want to create an S form, therefore I'm going to press shift and create a copy. And here I'm going to go to rotate and angle snap, and I'll rotate by 180 degrees. Or I can just type in the angle down here. Now I want to align these perfectly, so I'll zoom over, I'll press F3, and I'll choose 2.5 snap and make sure that vertex is on, because I'm going to grab this vertex and place it right over here. So now whenever I look at this from the perspective view, I should have a seamless blend between the two. So there's my tunnel. Next I'm going to create the car. I'll create the car here and then move it over. The reason for that is that whenever I create primitives, they're going to be aligned to this line in case I created them in the left view. So I'll go to my top view again and I'll press S to snap and I'll create a box. Now this box is not going to be deformed, therefore the segments should be set to 1. Alright, so I'll zoom over and I need to move this up. I'll go to modify and I'll lower down the height. I'll press shift and create a copy of this. I can zoom over if I like and choose snap and just drag down this point like so. Now I'm going to change the length and I'm going to snap this vertex over there. I'll move it a bit like so, and now I need to slant this line here, so I'm going to add a modifier called FFD 2x2x2. I'll expand and choose control points, and now I can slant the control points and I can also move them to adjust the form. So if I looked at this, this is what I have so far. I need to create the wheels now. So again, in my left view, I'm gonna create a tube. I'll start over here and then I'll go like this. Now this is why I created the box here and not there, because now everything that I create in the left view is going to be aligned to this vertical line here. So anyway, I'll just bring this over here. I'll go to modify. Now for this tube I don't want any height segments, which are these segments, so I'll decrease them to 1. But I want to have a nicer curve for the wheels, so I'm going to set the sides to 40. I want to have thicker wheels, so I'm going to increase the height a little bit, say to 10. I'm going to change the color and I'm going to press shift and create a copy like so, an instance, because if I change one, I want the other one to change at the same time. So I'll select these two now and I'll press shift with angle snap and rotate like so, instances again, and I'll just move them over here. The reason I made a rotation before I moved them is because if I change the height now, it's gonna change in a mirror like fashion instead of changing from one side only. Alright, so having this now, I'm gonna create the headlights. So I'll zoom over this area. I'll go back to create and choose cylinder, but this time I'll choose auto grid because AutoGrid will create your new primitive aligned to the surface that you click on. So I'll undo this, and here I'm gonna add a cylinder. I'll remove AutoGrid now and press shift and create a copy like so, which is an instance. Alright, I do need AutoGrid for one more thing, which is the backlight, so I'll reactivate it and then remove it because I only use AutoGrid whenever I need it. I can change the colors so the backlights are red and the front lights are whitish. Alright, I can change the color now of the car to say darker green. Alright, so there's my car. Next I'm gonna be animating this car inside the tunnel, and I'm also gonna create a camera that follows the car. The first thing I'll do though is select all the parts of the car and group them. So I'm gonna choose group and call this car. Now I need the center of this group to be at 0 level and not in the middle, because now if I scale down the car, because the car is bigger than it should be with respect to the tunnel opening, it's gonna scale down from its center, but I want it to scale down from this point here so that the wheels stay put on the ground. So what I will do is go to hierarchy, effect pivot only, move, and set the Z value to 0. So this puts the center of scaling of the object, which is the group now, at the ground level, which means that if I scale it now, it's gonna scale but stay on the ground. Alright, so now I'll just grab it and move it over here and just give it a rotation so that it's properly aligned to the mouth of the tunnel. Alright, maybe it needs to be scaled down a little bit more. And I'm going to change the color of the tunnel to something brownish, just to have some contrast. And I'm also going to add a ground floor, which is a plane. So I go to create from the top view, choose plane, and create a big plane that covers the whole area. Alright, so there, next I'm gonna create an animation for this. I'm gonna animate the car going in, and then I'm gonna add a camera and follow through with the camera. So the first thing I'll do is select the car, and I'll press auto key. I'll go to frame 100, which is the end frame, and I'll move the car up there. So now the car goes in a straight line. I moved it, but I also need to adjust the orientation so that it's properly aligned to the curvature of the tunnel at this point here. Now at frame 50, which is halfway through, I'm gonna place the car in the center, and I'm also gonna align its orientation. If you want to lock the selection to the car so that you can not select anything else, you press the space bar on your keyboard. So now you can only select the car and not select the plane or the tunnel. Alright, so now the car is having the proper orientation, but it needs to be keyframed halfway through. So I'm gonna go to frame 25. I'll place the car in, make sure that the orientation is right, so you can right click, choose rotate. Now make sure that you don't rotate in a strange axis. You only need to rotate in the Z axis in this case. Alright, so there, it's still going in straight lines, which I need to fix in a second. Alright, at frame 75 now, I'll put it in and check the rotation. Now if I go to the motion panel and check trajectories, I'm gonna see that the car goes in straight lines, which is something that I don't want, so I want to fix that. So I'm gonna go to frame 12, for example, which is halfway between 0 and 25, and I'm gonna